Alright, so welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It's your host with the most. This one was very confusing. I actually had to get pen and paper and try to put this one together for you to deliver it properly. Okay, now we know about this, the whole British citizens or US citizens, foreigners being killed in Jamaica after returning. So we have to be careful when we deliver these stories, and we have to follow them up and try to find the truth to the stories. Stay tuned. That one, yeah? Something else. Alright, so before I go any further, I must ask y'all to remember that we are not CNBC, NBC, MSNBC, TVJ, CVM, or any of these entities that are linked to any corporate entity. Nobody now write with no check. We are not entitled to say what others want us to say. This is our platform on YouTube where we express our thoughts freely, and we say where we want to say on Fiwi channel. Alright, now let's get into this. Alright, so here we have Karen Cleary, the beautician from London, England, right? Big bad Benz, all these things. She's a go-getter. She was in Jamaica to finish building this big house right here. Some would call it a mansion, right? And here we have a picture of her with her hubby of 13 years. Well, that picture right there, look, get a good look at it. And just for kicks and giggles sake, this was the view from the front of the house, overlooking the sea. This is dream. This is a dream come through, right? Now remember when Andy Kane, that same man you just saw her in the picture, left this? Since last Tuesday when I found out Karen Cleary was missing, I've had a feeling that the freight train of reality was barreling down the tracks towards me. Today it pains to say that that train hit me hard, and I am sorry to pass on the news today that after a painstaking search by the Jamaican police team, that the time for hope and optimism has unfortunately passed, and they have recovered her body. Karen has now gone on to a better place. Karen has been the shining star in my world for over 13 years. That world has now turned very dark indeed. Please, before you go to your bed tonight, say a prayer for her to whatever God you pray to. And also make sure you tell your loved ones how much they mean to you while you still have the chance. Thank you for all the love, concern, and genuine offers of support that you have posted over the past few days. It was truly been appreciated. This is the post that Andy Kane, the man you saw her with, in that picture that I just showed you, posted on his Facebook page after finding out that Karen was deceased in Jamaica. Alright, so you're gonna say, so Flo, where y'all go with this? Remember, I said 13 years. She was supposed to have been with Andy Kane for 13 years. I'm gonna draw out my pen and paper now, and we're going to actually really talk now. I don't want nobody here in them feelings. I want people to actually just listen, keep an open mind, and know that in life anything is possible, and you can't put nothing past nobody because everybody is capable. Alright? With that said, let's get into this now. Now, take a good look at this picture right here. That is not Andy Kane. And in case you're confused, and I said, show them look alike, take a look at that picture. That's Andy Kane. Take a look now at this picture again. Again, that is not Andy Kane. You're still confused? Take a look at this picture. That is Andy Kane again. You still don't want to admit it, right? Here we go again. Two different men is basically what I'm trying to establish. Now, hear this. Alright, so the British article in the Mail online says the devastated husband of the beautician that was stabbed to death in her kitchen of her dream Jamaican home has spoken at how they were planning a wonderful life together. Watch it. Ken Brown. May I say the name again? Ken Brown. Now we were all thinking that, okay, her husband then must name Andy Kane. No, Ken Brown. And I was wondering why some paper named her Karen Cleary and then some said Karen Cleary Brown. It was because her husband had came forward and done interviews now, which is one of them I'm reading. Ken Brown said that the body of his spouse, Karen Cleary Brown, was discovered buried in the garden of her property in Boscobel area in St. Mary of the Caribbean island. The 44-year-old had been missing since November 25th and was found by police on Monday after the killer confessed and her murder. The killer confessed to her murder and led them to her grave, Mr. Brown said. So all this we don't know upon our side, We're over here still waiting to hear Jamaica police say he has confessed. When them way over England, I say, this is her husband speaking in an interview saying the killer confessed and led them to her body, to the grave. This is Mr. Brown. He said, he was speaking to the Press Association. He said that they had been living in Islington, North London, and have been married since 2004. And dealing with the news of her murder is not easy. I was just devastated. She was building a dream home. We had planned this wonderful life together, the 65-year-old said. She was coming back in January, and then we were going to go for a big holiday around Thailand. The future was rosy. So you're talking about big home, nice life, dream trips. Mr. Brown, who is currently in Jamaica, and again, not Andy Kane, but Mr. Brown is currently in Jamaica. This one you see in the picture here is currently in Jamaica, right? Mr. Brown is currently in Jamaica, and he said that the man who has confessed to her murder had been working on the property and that he stabbed her to death in the kitchen. All these details we did not know. We didn't know which part of the house she got killed in. We didn't know that he actually confessed and led them to the to where she was at. We thought they searched around and found her on their own. These are details that, intricate details that I myself wanted to know. Alright, so he went on to describe how after being arrested by the police, that the man actually led the officers to where her body had been buried. This is his words. He said that the forensic dig took at least a complete day. He had buried her deep, put tarpaulin over it, and then put concrete over that, then covered it up. The police said even if they had brought dogs, they would have never been able to find her if he had not actually confessed and led them to it. Alright, so there you go again, another piece of information for you. There was a confession and he actually led them to it. And like the police said, they would have never been able to find it had he not led them to it, even if they had brought dogs. Right? I remember one of my audience members saying, SouFLo, he buried her so deep, they weren't going to be able to find her. And I told the person that it wasn't that deep, and I showed the hole, right? But here's the thing. A grave is 6'6", and this hole was not no 6'6", so to me this wasn't deep. But I guess it was deep enough to where cadaver dogs would have never been able to find her, sniff her out, and without a confession they probably would have never found her, right? So he went on to praise the efforts of the Jamaica police and said that some of them was working 24/7, non-stop, 24-hour shift just to see justice done. Mr. Brown said that his wife had lived in Britain for more than 20 years and had indefinite leave to remain in Britain, but determined to build her house, which she had been working on for more than 7 years, and would often head to her native Jamaica for periods of time just to do so. Described her as an awesome person, someone that loved to cook, excellent cook, and she just loved life. She was fun and engaging, and she had a strong character, which Jamaican woman doesn't. Responding to reports that a man called Andy Kane, catch this part. Responding to reports that a man called Andy Kane was her partner, Mr. Brown, who is her husband, said this is not correct, and that they were in fact just friends. Mr. Brown is either in denial, or Mr. Brown at 65 has an early onset of Alzheimer's or dementia or something going over here. So, but Mr. Brown says that Andy Kane, the man who we all thought on this side of the ocean was actually Karen's man, which he said he was for the past 13 years. And remember, she and Mr. Brown been married for 15 years. Said that Mr. Brown said this man is just a friend. The death of Miss Cleary Brown comes 6 months after another British couple, Gail Anderson and Charlie from Manchester, were murdered at their home in Jamaica. So you see the importance of us trying to make some kind of a link, or else people on the outside really are going to start looking at it as you go down to Jamaica, so you get murdered, or don't come back, because it was Karen Cleary's death that actually started the don't come back movement, even though there was one brewing on the low before. And I'm not in agreement with Mr. Chang by him saying majority of them are domestic, but this one right here was definitely a domestic. Alright, so like I said in the beginning of this video, man, I was so confused I had to get pen and paper. Listen to me, people. Let me run through this for you again a little bit clearly. Alright, so here we have Karen Cleary, right? And she was married to Andy Kane, as we thought. As we thought, this is Andy Kane with her, and we thought this was her husband, or her, not husband, sorry, but her boyfriend. Karen Cleary was married. Yes, she was married. No, Andy Kane was not her husband. No, he was not her husband. Karen Cleary was married, and she had a husband that she actually lived with. So they weren't separated and she was with another man. She was with one white man for 15 years, which is her husband she's married to. And she was with another white man for 13 years, who she met 2 years after she got married. Alright? Andy Kane said that she had been the light of his life for, this Amania said that. This is the sales executive that says she had been the light of his life for the past 13 years. He is the 56-year-old sales executive. Her husband is Ken Brown, is a 65-year-old British man. He showed up with receipts for his wife in the form of a marriage certificate and all other kinds of things, and says that Andy Kane, to his knowledge, was just a friend of Karen's. So, you see how this thing get twisted. Oh, what tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Oh my gosh. All that for a mansion and a Benz and some name brand clothes and some fancy trips to places and these things. Karen, you lived your life, girl. YOLO. You only live once. That saying will make a lot of people do a lot of stupid things. Right? All that fancy trips to fancy places, and you can brag and say that you drive a Mercedes Benz and it's brand new, and you wear Gucci and Prada and Fendi and all the fancy names that cost a whole bunch of money, and your life is of high society type, right? All that was not worth this right here. Look at her ending. A shallow grave. A shallow grave. This wasn't no double life. This was a triple life that she was living, because she was also linked to the property caretaker, 30-plus-year-old, 32 or something like that year-old Jamaican, who had been charged with her murder / death, right? Now remember, she was married to Ken Brown, what? Since 2004. That's 15 years. And she was with Andy Kane by his own words and public admission, which tells me that Andy Kane either knew of her husband, or something is funny right there, because the husband is in the paper saying he knew of him but they were just friends, and he's out here letting the public know that he's been with her for the past 13 years. So this is confusing as ever. She had only been in England for 20 years, right? Or 20 something years, and 15, 16 of that, a whole lot of deception was going on. I look behind this facade and I see a story of a girl that left Jamaica with a dream and a vision, and a lot of them do this. Me I go far and go get my papers, me I go get straight. Me I find somebody married to. Me I find a man with money to help me take care of certain finances. Boom, things went from that to that. I'm establish myself. Then I'm come back home, build a nice house, this and that, retire early, all that. She was on track. She was on track. 65-year-old get her the definite stay and fancy trips. The 56-year-old help her to build a home or included his finances. And the 32-year-old get her the sex with the dasheen and cocoa and the peanut and Fosca oats and the in her back and them thing there. And was able to also take care of her business while she was away from the island, secure things for her till she come back. In Karen's mind, only one of them was supposed to make it into this mansion with her at the end of the day. And I'm only left now thinking, me not care what nobody want to tell me say after this. I think I got the whole picture now. I'm only left now thinking which one was going to make it into the mansion with her, and how was she going to get rid of the other ones that did not make it in. The story long, the story I'll go Canada, but we're not touched on the Canadian part yet. We're only touching on this, what we know here, involving these three men. Leave your comment in the comment section below. SouFLoTV, man, I'm out. Peace.